Okay, I'm back again. So let's continue with the coding. One thing I want to change that I was thinking about, I remember having this option back in the VUSG 4000, which is the code used by VUSG Station since version 8, I think, or version 9. I don't remember now. But I'm going to create an action list so I can trigger actions that are going to be thread safe. So I'm going to create a new file here for the interface. So let's go to the interface. Actions. I'm going to create that. And I'm possibly going to remove the layer change thread and use an action instead. But I also need a header for that. So add existing header file, actions header file. And then I can save this and launch. So, okay, interface. I put it on layers? No, it's in there. Okay. So, how am I going to handle this now? So let me first add. The header file is just going to have an enumeration of the actions. So change layer. You don't need to put equals 0, but I like to put equals 0 just so I'm certainly that that's going to be 0. It's just so when I start mixing enumerations, I don't forget to put equals 0 when I need it to be equals 0. It's just for the sake of adding it. So then on the multi preset, I'm going to copy here, and instead I'm going to add the action list to the plugin editor here. Oops. Actions. So there we have it now. And then I can add more actions as I needed. Change layer, remove preset. I really have to stop using multi-preset because preset already means that it's a preset from a multi-preset list. So with time I'm going to remove that name. So remove preset. The add doesn't need to be an action, so anything like that. And then we're going to have an atomic action code and -1. Let's create a non. Action non equals 0. So now you know that 0 is no action. Action code. And then you can have, maybe we could put these in a structure just to make things more organized. So I could create like a class for this. Class action. And then here I add the juice header. So the action is going to have an action code, action maybe action value integer, and I could add more. Since already inside action, you don't have to call the action. So code value. So now I just go and create action object. Just a minute. And then I'm going to create a function for that. Check action. And then these I'm going to actually put in actions, although it's for the editor. May seems a bit confusion here, but at least I know where it's going to be, so it's not a big deal. So let me check something here really quickly. I'm just putting something on the chat to test out if the chat is working. Okay, let me check something. So if action object code for not action known, then we process the action. And then for last, we set action known. So that's it. Then we can create a switch in here. I like to structure my cases like this. Some people find it ugly, but it's just the way I code it. So that's the way I like to do it. So now, instead of the thread that I created, which is basically just doing that, I'm going to leave this for the timer to take care of instead. So I'm going to get this action and put on the timer. So just check the action. So I'm going to replace all this code for that instead. But for now, I'm going to leave like this. We'll have to check the browser code that I already created. So the remove preset is the one I want to change it. Then it's going to happen on the action here. Remove preset. So if the audio is not suspended, which should be suspended, I just return. So for me to remove, I'm going to go to Action, Object, and get the value that I pass it. Remove preset, I don't bother anymore, then change preset. So I have removed from here. And I also want to create, here on the editor, check action, and I want to create a Q action. Is that how to write? I don't remember how to write Q. Q line, let me see. Yeah, that's how you write it. A Q is a line of things. So Q action, the action value, and it can be 0 because sometimes you don't need to supply any value. So action object value equals value, and I also have to check if action object code not action known, then you have to return it, since there is another action already in the queue. And there should only be one action at a time. If two actions are created, that's an error. So maybe I could also show a message. So we should show an error message. Code set action. And this should return right away. So then on the timer is going to actually call the and another thing that should happen, I should stop the timer and then restart the timer. The timer is 200. Well, 100 is better. So stop the timer, define it, and then start the timer again. Return, and it should be, well, it will be thread safe. There is no way it's going to be a problem. So now I have to remove the remove preset option and use the fire action instead. So Q action remove preset, and then the preset number. And there's another thing I could do, is on the Q action all the actions should disable the mouse clicks. So in the Q action code, I should call this first. Stop timer, stop the mouse clicks. The mouse not being received anymore. I don't know how to say that, but it's something like that. And then on the Q action, we could also put suspend audio, or maybe not, because this will depend on the type of action. Well, it's good to have in here. So if suspend audio processor, suspend processing true. Otherwise, we ignore that. But then we also should have an option in the action, audio suspended. Then I'll put this audio suspended is suspend audio. Then we know that the audio was suspended. Okay, much better. Now I put this true. So now it suspends the audio and stops the interface. And it should work much better, because then I can use this for other things too. And well, that's pretty much it. Then on the action itself, so okay, the action has been performed. So before we finished, if action object audio suspended, audio suspend processing false. That should do it. And then you can remove this guy. And another thing I could add, because this change preset here is not going to work in here, because I already have on action, and change preset is another action, so it's going to be a conflict in there. So I'm going to have to think about this one. And for now, I can't have it in here. But what I can have here is to resume the mouse interface, the interface mouse, more exactly. So now I got a bit of a problem that I have to resolve, because if I need to update the interface, like I change the layer, let me think a bit. So remove preset already remove it, so it's going to be in here. The change layer that I need to address now. So right now, check action, Q action, and then a change layer. I have to check where I'm going to be creating the thread. This thread, a change thread. Let me check what's the variable that I created. Layer change thread. That's the one, okay. Because instead of that, then I can remove this from here and put this on actions. Well, it's always going to be repainted after, because all the actions are going to mess with the interface. So now I just have to find it where it's running. Oh, here, start thread. So change layer. So query new action change layer, suspend layer, false. Suspend audio processing, false. So it should be this guy. And then we don't create anymore this thread. Let me see if I'm still using this. I'm no longer using this. So, okay. Instead of the thread, I'm just going to rely on the timer. And then I know for sure that it's going to be from the same thread, because it fires from the same message block. At least it should. Not sure if it's going to work right away, but I think I did everything. Yeah, it's working. Yeah, it kind of works. I see it's flashing a bit, so I have to check why. can see that it's flashing. Like a bright version of the text or something like that. But it seems to be working, so I'm not going to bother about that for now. It seems good, and it's also more organized, so I can go ahead and remove the thread file, and I really have to start cleaning the code because there is a lot of so let me check. Layer change thread I'm not going to be using anymore. Well, anyway. So it's going to recompile again because I'm changing the files. So let me take a look now what I have done. I created the action which is set on the sorry, I'm just brainstorming a bit. So let me check. If audio was suspended, okay. And then on the queue of the action, audio suspended audio. Okay, so that's correct. So it seems to be okay. So let me take a look at the timer now, because I want to clean a bit everything here. So where is it? Top, layer object, display preset. I still have to clean this, but I'm not going to bother too much now. Because not everything is going to be inside the action list. Mostly like remove layer, create layer, and stuff like that. So this is working. Let me see if my MIDI keyboard is in here. Now it's not power on, so it's not being recognized. Of course. So let me revise a few things. The multi-preset. Then preset changed. What we are looking when the preset is changed. Okay. So what happens here in the action where we remove a preset? We need fire up a change layer from the change preset. So what happens in here? Is we stop the audio, stop the interface, remove the preset, and now we have to recheck the preset. But if you do it in here, let me see on the change layer how I'm doing this. Okay. Change layer, change layer. When the change layer is being called, change layer, change layer. During the paint, which is kinda okay. So we don't need to worry about this and this. Because this is done here. Okay. So this is called when I click on Browse Presets or close the browser. I can see that it's overlapping a bit. It's not a big deal, but I would rather not have that if possible. So why it's overlapping? Let me check the paint again. I don't know what's doing that. I'm going to take a look at this later on, but it seems to be correct. So I'm also going to lock it in here to be sure that nothing in the screen is being redrawn as I remove the preset. Now I just have to think on how I'm going to call the change the preset, because this is going to be an action inside an action. So because what happens is change preset creates another action, and since I'm already inside an action, it's going to fail. Unless, of course, I go and set action to none, call the code, which is going to handle everything, and it should work then. And it should be safe to use like that. Because the hardest part is to be thread safe. Because we have two threads running all the time. Yeah, it seems to be working correctly. Oh, that's not good. Call stack to where? Oh, of course, I'm not in debug mode, so let's put in debug mode, see if I can trigger that again. All I was doing is removing the preset. So let me check one thing. Preset changing. Change layer. Okay, I will be back later. I have to take care of something else.